Will it, won't it be built? North Bali Airport saga continues. And is Bali a drug den? Stay tuned for details for these and other fascinating stories. Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is May 29th, 2024, and my name is Bruce. What is the weather like today? 29.7 degrees Celsius, and the humidity 72%. Wind speed is 14.3 kilometers per hour. Okay, let's get right into this. A lot of stuff about the airport. The airport has become a hot topic again. And former President Megawati has had her 2 rupees in as usual. And the person who's in charge, I guess the CEO of the company that is supposed to build the airport, has something to say about it, as well as former Governor Koster. And so let's take a look at that first. Having been rejected by Megawati, BIBU claims that North Bali Airport is not culturally damaged. Culturally damaging, I think. The director of PT North Bali International Airport claims that the North Bali Airport project in Kubu Tambahan will not damage the social order on the island of the gods. The airport project on the sea was rejected by the 5th president of Indonesia, Megawati Soekarno Putri. He said, "I believe she does not fully understand the development of North Bali Airport. Nothing will be lost. Culture will not be lost. This is also in the investors' interest." Right, what about the people? He admitted that he communicated with a number of ministries regarding the continuation of the North Bali Airport project. According to him, soon the new airport will begin construction. Last week, we communicated with several ministries, including the Ministry of State Secretariat, he said. This news is very encouraging for the Balinese people. Everything, he said, the response from the ministry is positive. Everything is positive. Pak Erwanto said that the construction of North Bali Airport was a necessity. This is because the airport currently in use is being overwhelmed by passengers and will not be able to deal with it by 2026. He dismissed the North Bali Airport project as just a political promise. He claimed that the construction of the airport would still pay attention to values believed in by the Balinese people. For 8 years now, he said, we've remained consistent that the airport we are preparing is the best. He said, Nurai Airport is so busy at the end of last year, many passengers took to the streets carrying suitcases. Erwanto claimed that he had also lobbied elected President Prabowo regarding plans to build a new airport. He emphasized that the airport would continue to be built on the sea, precisely on the coast of Kubu Tambahan. The North Bali Airport project, he continued, could again be included in the National Strategic Program, PSN, under the leadership of the new president and vice president. Moreover, he said, they have promised to continue with construction of the North Bali Airport during the 2024 presidential election campaign promises. He said, if we return to the era of the current president, the time's already passed. Maybe in the next period, the new presidential team, he said the North Bali project will again return to PSN. The Secretary General of the Gerindra Party said that Prabowo, the president-elect, wants to make Bali a world tourism center with adequate facilities. According to him, if the North Bali Airport is realized, more and more tourists will come to the island of the gods. Again, is more better? The more flights that come to Bali, the more people they will carry, whether from abroad or from Jakarta or other cities. Obviously not interested in the topic about over-tourism and overdevelopment. Previously, former President Megawati had criticized plans to build the airport. She even reprimanded the former governor, Koster, when he was in charge. According to Ibu Megawati, the existence of the new airport in Bali will only make things crowded. She's worried that the project will actually damage Bali and the fabric of its society. And we'll get to that in a minute, because there's another person that believes pretty much the same thing. Let's get on and see what the former governor has to say. Because if you remember, Governor Koster, former Governor Koster, was big on building things, and he was interested in the airport as well. But when it was canceled, he said, well, it's okay, we've got other things that we're building right now. And he was talking about specifically about the toll road from Gilimanuk to Mangui. And that is, well, still not happening. So what did Koster have to say? Koster suggests building access to North Bali before there is a new airport. So he's encouraging patience and caution. The former governor of Bali during 2018 to 2023 said that building infrastructure from south to North Bali should happen before building a new airport. Before talking about airports, he said, let's talk about access and infrastructure. The infrastructure in question, roads and railways. According to Koster, it would be better if infrastructure development was integrated with all districts and cities so that it would be easier for people to travel to North Bali, especially those who want to go to the airport. Where will the location of the airport be? Let's determine that first. Then we discuss access to the airport. The infrastructure could be a toll road or a railway as another alternative. Koster hopes that there will be a study, another study, there's been many studies already, before building all the connection infrastructure. The study, he said, will take at least 1 year. And he said, you have to pay attention to the geographical conditions in Bali, where there's many hills and mountains, and a need to build many bridges, not to mention the matter of land acquisition, which was a big problem in the past. The fastest that we could go would be 2 years after the land is acquired, then build the infrastructure. So that means in the next 5 or 6 years, we have to decide whether toll roads or trains, and then talk about airports. So, okay, we've gone from now to 2 years to 5 or 6 years. Koster said he was prioritizing the development of connecting infrastructure to avoid negative impacts on North Bali Airport. He gave the example of many airports in Java, which are empty even though they were only built 3 years ago. Previously, plans to build an airport in North Bali emerged again because it was hoped that it would be able to equalize tourism and the economy. However, observers actually believe that the existence of the new airport will only add to problems in Bali's tourism sector. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Udayana University tourism observer Nyoman Sukma Arida assesses that so far all tourism dynamics and problems often occur in southern Bali. Even so, if there has to be construction in North Bali, then he said the existing airport should just be closed. So we're going to build a new airport, close the old one. Okay, that one makes a lot of sense. He said this is done for geographical regions. According to him, the island of Bali is too small for 2 airports. So let's look in more detail at what he had to say. Tourism observer values North Bali Airport will add to problems. So as I said previously, this idea of building another airport, in addition to taking pressure off of the airport, Nuarai Airport, is that it will spread out development and there will be more tourists coming to the north of Bali. And Bulang, which is one of the poorer regencies on the island, would get a huge economic boost. And that's based on the idea that if people are going to fly into the airport in North Bali, they're going to stay in North Bali. And we'll get to a discussion on that in just a second. Let's see what else he has to say. He said, adding an airport in North Bali will only make the fate of North Bali the same as South Bali. It's only going to distribute problems, not equalize prosperity. He said, I prefer Bali with 1 airport because Bali is a small island. If you want to build an airport in the north, close the one in the south, or build a railroad around Bali and build an LRT that connects several destination points in South Bali. According to him, a new airport in North Bali is not a solution to equalize the economy and tourism, which will have an impact on improving people's welfare up here. Developing business sectors outside of tourism is considered more promising than having to build a new airport. For example, he said, developing agricultural, fisheries, small industries, or MSME sectors. This could also be done by building a shortcut in Badugal and Sukasada, which would cut the distance to North Bali down to just 2 hours. And we do already have a shortcut, which is, I guess, cut down the time a little bit, but it still takes a long time to go from north to south. More on the economy, he said, develop sectors outside of tourism so that Bali's development is balanced. Plus, he said, the northern Bali region offers a number of tourist attractions with a different character to those in the south. He said the unspoiled conditions in northern Bali offer tourist attractions for tourists who enjoy natural beauty. In fact, he said, North Bali's tourism segment is a special interest based on its unspoiled nature. Previously, it was reported that after receiving support from prominent figures throughout Bali, and I talked about that last week, PT North Bali International Airport said that they have lobbied the incoming president, as I discussed just recently, and that he is in favor of the airport and that they are going to build it out into the sea. Now, the sea plan, I don't know how many years ago was that. And at the time, I think it was going to be a Canadian project, and it was going to go out up in Kubu Tambahan because they were doing it on the land, but there were too many temples, too many problems with land acquisition, the same when they were going to build it over close to Gilimanuk. And there were problems with people living there, not wanting to give up their land, not wanting to give up their home. And there were problems with protected species in West Bali National Park. And so that was trash. And so it has gone back and forth between Kubu Tambahan and Gurogak, Gilimanuk area. And apparently now we are back at the build it out into the sea in Kubu Tambahan. So as the observer from the university said, people come up here to the north for a different experience. They come up here because we don't have huge beach clubs. We don't have nightclubs. Well, we have a few, but not that many. It is just a different vibe up here, if we want to use the word vibe. And that's why people come up here. We have an older population, generally, kind of like Sanur in a sense. A lot of Europeans who stay here on a permanent basis or semi-permanent basis. And they're here because they like the peace, the quiet, the relaxed nature of daily life. There are some things that you give up here that younger people would not like. For example, there's no surf. The beaches are black sand, not white sand. Shopping is relatively limited. We don't have any big malls. We don't have any big supermarkets. We have Clandy's one, and we have the former Hardee's, which is, I can never remember the name of it. Don't have any Dunkin' Donuts. Don't have any Burger Kings. We don't have all of that touristy stuff that they have in the South, and that is one of the saving graces of this area. Okay, so is the airport happening? At this point, it's not happening. It's being discussed. What is the incoming president and vice president? What are they going to do? Are they going to put this up and make it a priority project? Well, if they do, it may happen, but it was a priority project before and nothing happened. And after having been a priority project for years, President Jokowi took it off and said, look, we've been waiting for a long time. We're taking this off. This is not a priority project anymore. Let the next administration deal with it. So that's where we are with the North Bali Airport. What do you think? Should we have an airport up here in North Bali? If you've watched this channel before, you know my feeling about it. No. Okay, and the next main story, Megawati again. I love Megawati does not mind speaking what she thinks. And so now she's criticizing Bali tourism in shambles. To the point, she said, the cafes have become narcotics dens. Former President Megawati and chairperson of the Indonesian Democratic Party of Struggle criticized the proliferation of cafes and nightlife venues in Bali, which have become hotbeds for drug trafficking. According to her, this is the impact of chaotic and uncontrolled tourism management. Megawati said that poor tourism management has had an impact on the lives of local communities. I'm already angry with Mr. Koster, she said. Where is he? He's gone. Oh, that's him. Watch out when cafes are left like mushrooms. I said they're drug places. She said this a couple days ago on Sunday. BIBU Megawati revealed that tourism in Bali, which is considered uncontrolled, is causing problems for local communities. She pushed the need for a quota allocation to overcome tourism in Bali. to keep Bali from becoming over-touristed. She revealed that there are complaints from residents about the lack of water due to massive impact of development for tourism. She's saying that the welfare of the Balinese people has kind of gone to the side in order to develop. And to be quite honest about it, Balinese people are part of the problem with this because they're selling their land or renting it out, leasing it out. And so there is a lot of people involved in this, not just big investors, but people who are giving up their land. And they're giving up their land, why? Well, because they want money and they want a better life. And they look at this as one way to do this. Megawati admitted that she was worried about the people of Bali who were not enjoying the beauty and nature of their island. She said there must be a measurable tourism system so that residents in Bali can still breathe. It's going to be a pity for the people not to enjoy the tourists who come. I said, let's allocate a quota so that the island's breath will not be pressured like that. This is all tourism, I say. I'm not anti-tourism. It's measurable because tourism is also for the lives of our people. It shouldn't be upside down. Okay, let's translate that a little bit. She said she's not anti-tourism. She wants a quota. She wants to limit. And there are some places in the world that are already doing that, putting a limit on the number of people that can go through certain things, see certain tourist attractions per day or per week, per month. And in some places, well, tourists are just being banned now. In Japan, a popular street where you have geishas and training geishas has been closed to tourists because they keep harassing the women there for photographs and videos. And so they banned that street for tourists. So we see this going on around the world now as tourism just explodes. And we get more and more bad tourists, naughty tourists, inconsiderate tourists, rude tourists. And that's to be expected. With these big numbers, you're going to get some bad apples. And it makes things bad for everybody. Megawati admitted to scolding former Governor DIP cadre Koster regarding the number of cafes in the province. Megawati then told the story of when Bali was considered a country by Americans. I don't know how this came up. I experienced that. It was crazy to think that Bali is a country, the capital of Indonesia. That's what they think in America. Can you imagine I was asked something like that? Megawati said that many people praise Bali for its beautiful panorama. However, she continued, she warned that Balinese traditional culture can be lost. She said, hip-hop, rock and roll, wow, imagine that. And Megawati still is a powerful person in the country, especially here in Bali. And so when she says something, people are going to respond to it. And the former governor has responded to it. He's been scolded several times by Megawati. Koster responds to Megawati's criticisms regarding Bali tourism being a mess, a drug den. The former governor responded to BIBU Megawati's remarks when she said that tourism management is a shambles. Koster said Bali really needs to reorganize its tourism. Tourism in the future should be regulated, he said. There's already regional regulations. There's gubernatorial regulations for tourism management. However, the former governor said organizing tourism in Bali requires a process. He said this is because the regional regulations and governor's regulations were only implemented after the pandemic. So tourism in Bali is just recovering from the downturn, a frequent excuse for everything that's going on here. Koster's worried that if the implementation of regional regulations and the governor regulations is too strict, it will have a negative impact on tourism. He hopes that efforts to organize tourism in Bali will continue. And he hopes that it will continue based on culture, quality, and dignity. And didn't say this, but I think also numbers. He promised to coordinate efforts to organize tourism with city district governments throughout Bali if he is reelected as Bali in the 2024 gubernatorial election. This is because the regulations and permits for all hotels and restaurants are the domain of city district governments. In the future, there must be collaborative regulations and policies between district, city, and provincial governments, especially in tourist-dense areas where cafes are mushrooming, let alone misused. They must be controlled. And of course, Pak Sandiaga Uno, the Minister of Tourism. Well, he's been criticized as well by this, not directly, but when Ibu Megawati says tourism is being mismanaged, he's the boss of tourism, so he's got to say something. Megawati criticizes Bali tourism as a drug den. Here's Sandiaga's response. In my opinion, this criticism is valid for our improvement. We take firm action against accusations of trafficking in illegal drugs, he said yesterday or Monday. As you know, if you watch this channel or any other channels about Bali, not long ago, the National Police Criminal Investigation Agency arrested 4 people in connection with the drug cases in Bali. This was the drug lab and the hydroponic garden in the villa down in the Canggu region. Pak Sandiaga emphasized that there's no tolerance for the distribution of illegal drugs in Bali. Okay, and so the former governor, and he hopes he will be the next governor, and the Minister of Tourism, outgoing Minister of Tourism, said they agree. The comments from Pak Sandiaga, not very detailed. Well, neither of them, but both kind of like vague, okay, we're going to regulate this more. Pak Sandiaga said, yeah, we don't let people do drugs here. We don't let illegal drug trafficking going on. Didn't say anything particularly about tourism mismanagement that Megawati criticized. So let's see what comes of all this discussion. Okay, that's it. A lot of stuff to do as usual. And, well, going to talk about the upcoming possibility of drought in the next video. Thanks for viewing. Stay safe. Be kind to someone today. And I will see you next time.